This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Got a car to sell but no time to waste? Hop on to Carvana.com to get a real offer for your car in seconds. All you have to do is enter your license plate, answer a few quick questions, and if you accept the offer, Carvana will pay you as soon as you hand the keys over. They even offer same-day pickup in many cities. Save your time, score some cash, and sell your car the convenient way to Carvana. Pickup times vary. Fees may apply.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning, and today is the first day of the rest of our lives as we count down to the end. It's the beginning of the end of the Late Show. The Late Show with Stephen COlbert. And it doesn't come too soon. If anything, it comes a little too late. And it's not because I have so much an axe to grind, with Stephen COlbert. He's one of 8 billion people out there that I disagree with. You know, it's not that. It's that it's that he has carried on and carried on and carried on like a petulant child in the epicenter of what had been legendary broadcasting. The fact that he did his whinging and whining and complaining and bashing of fully at least half of the viewers in the United States, half the population or whatever, a significant portion of his fellow Americans, from the Ed Sullivan Theater. And in the grand tradition of Johnny Carson, of Ernie Kovacs, and so many others, just the cavalcade of unbelievable late night performers who sat at desks and did sketches and interviewed celebrities and non-celebrities and authors and political figures and regular folk. Johnny Carson sitting there with the potato chip lady, you know. The fact that he was so acerbic and acidic and in ways that you just could you ever imagine Steve Allen getting up from that piano and calling into question the intelligence of Eisenhower's kid? Or the intelligence of people who voted for Ike or Kennedy, for that matter. Joey Bishop. Again, the Steve Allen reference. Even in modern times. Arsenio Hall. Could you imagine Arsenio Hall, who, whether or not you thought he was particularly funny or a good interviewer or whatever, is a nice guy and harmless. Harmless. As he was supposed to be. Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien was edgy and a hipster. Incredibly intelligent, really smart guy, but not offensive, not icky or cruel or disagreeable. He wasn't disagreeable. Colbert, way disagreeable. Oh, and Leno, by the way, Leno. Never a fan of Leno. As a stand-up, yes, great writer, unbelievable stand-up. Just, he could go on literally for hours. One of the last truly prolific stand-up comics who could go out there for like 4 days and, never take a sip of water. And yet, as the host of The Tonight Show, Jay never did it for me. Ever. But always agreeable, always nice. But now this Jimmy Kimmel he's just so rotten to anybody on the other side of the political agenda from him. Rotten. And doesn't care. And it all started, I think, with Letterman. Started with Letterman. Not in his early days. In his early days, he was Mr. Aw Shucks Indiana. He was Mr. Genius. I mean, oh my God, you talk about appointment television. Oh my Lord, me and every other comic that I was coming up with back in the 80s. I'm even going to throw in another name who has turned, and I was just going to say, appointment viewing and listening for me in the 80s. Was there anything better than the bookend to start and end your day than the classic early Howard Stern and then Letterman at night? Was there a better way to wake up and go to bed? Funny, cutting edge, just, yes, toe curling. Yes, we all know what Howard did. We all know what Howard did. And in the day, in the moment, in the time, yes, Howard was dirty ish, and he was goofy. He was potty. He wasn't toilet. He was potty. And I am absolutely making that distinction. Absolutely making a distinction between toilet and potty. Howard was potty. But oh my God, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. My life literally began and ended with Stern and Letterman. As Stern has gotten older, he has become a disagreeable, whingy, whiny, kvetching, awful leftist. A Karen. He is an intolerant Karen who ceased to be funny ages ago and is now just one big walking banner for political correctness. And just before Letterman signed off, those last 4 or 5 years of Dave Letterman on TV were curmudgeonly. He was entitled. He would come out and just dismiss. He wouldn't even so much just attack or diminish or whatever Republicans. In general, he would dismiss and just be so condescending. And the funny would just disappear. It would dissipate. It became unwatchable for me, especially because I saw him at his best, at his absolute razor sharp, cutting edge, creative genius funny. That was David Letterman was Jack Parr. David Letterman was Steve Allen, out there with the mics and the cameras on the streets. The great cast of characters, and So, and Letterman also claimed to be a disciple of Johnny Carson. And Tony, I know you got a little bit of on your fingers, but do me a favor. This is, let's go all the way back to, this is Johnny Carson talking about this very subject. Here's Johnny's theory, his doctrine, if you will.
When you come out and do your monologues, which are really based on what you've read.
That's Barbara Walters.
Do you go home and worry about things? Do you worry about this country? Are there things that really bug you that you can't say in the air?
You're going to get serious, aren't you?
A little bit.
I think one of the dangers, if you are a comedian, which basically I am, if you start to take yourself too seriously and start to comment on social issues, your sense of humor suffers somewhere. I've seen other people, whose names I won't mention, who do humor. And then somewhere along the line, they start to want to make their views known. I try to do it humorously. I try not to, and we've had some criticism on the show. Some critics over the years says, well, the show has no great sociological value. It's not controversial. It's not deep. The Tonight Show basically is to amuse people, to make them laugh.
To amuse people, to make them laugh. It's not what he's there for. Now, that's honorable. It shows respect for the medium. It shows respect for the audience. Oh my God, I'm sitting here pining for the old days. And it's not because I'm just I want another, milquetoast from Avoca, Iowa. He was born in Avoca, Iowa, Johnny Carson. He grew up in Nebraska, just so everybody knows. I've been to the house where he was born. I swear to God, I think you believe me. But right there, listen to that doctrine. Listen to that theory. Your humor will suffer. I'm here to entertain. I'm here to make people laugh. And Colbert, and again, I don't mind the edge, and I don't mind the opinion. I don't mind, I get it. But when you come out literally every single night swinging a cudgel, and this, by the way, this is, I really do believe is what did him in. Now, CBS, and by the way, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. Are you going to miss Colbert? Do you recognize the morph that I saw in Letterman? That devolution from genuinely funny guy to curmudgeonly old complainer? Are you as disappointed in Howard Stern's fall from funny? I mean, those two were my absolute, not my, amongst my comedy gods as a kid, as a young guy, as a young entertainer, as a young stand-up comic, as a young comedy writer, as a young aspiring host. Those guys were along with Jerry Lewis, and who could be very self-important. Jerry could be very self-important, but you never really heard him talk politics. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. So now, again, just to get in here real quick. So Late Show says that we consider Colbert irreplaceable and will retire the Late Show franchise in May of 26. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. We are proud that Stephen called CBS home. Well, what else is he going to do? You gave him so much flipping money. He and the broadcast will be remembered in the pantheon of greats. No, they will not. Stephen Colbert will end up being a blip. He will end up being a blip. He will end up being a sad ending stain on what had been an amazing run with an amazing franchise from an amazing location in in an incredible city of what had been unbelievable broadcasting. This is purely a financial decision, said CBS, against a challenging backdrop in late night. It's not related in any way to the show's performance. That's just not true. It's not, it's purely challenging, not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. So, yeah, okay. So this is purely a financial decision. The finances of a show are determined by the performance of the show and the host. When the host comes out, when the host that you are paying tens of millions of dollars on a large production, that is one of the Late Show franchise is one of the most expensive, one of the priciest endeavors in all of broadcasting. I mean, boy, oh boy, just starting with his salary. And then you get into the labor. You get into the unions, the 94 unions that descend upon that production every night. Music royalties and audience wrangling, all that goes into packing the Ed Sullivan Theater with live human beings for tapings every night. Just the amount of wrangling that happens. Have you ever been? It is, you sit there. And I mean, as somebody in the business or anybody, even a civilian, you walk in, we'll go to a taping of one of these things and you just sit there, you go, Jesus, this must cost a fortune. You just look at the entire thing. And when the guy comes out and in the monologue and in the first steps forward of the broadcast, the man at the helm, the face of this massive, pricey endeavor, comes out and basically slaps fully half the nation, insults them, insults their intelligence, tells them they're less than, craps all over, and then with the guests he would have, you saw him coddle and normalize future evil. Well, he'll be proven. Comey? Boy, oh boy. Could Colbert lick boots better than anybody when it was a liberal sitting there? Could he lick a boot? Oh my God, could he lick a boot? He's a Catholic too. We're going to talk to a priest in the second hour, and just so you know, pretty much a Catholic priest. He's a Jesuit. Ba-dum-tsh. By the way, the next time I do a verbal rim shot, somebody come in here and slap me right across my damn face. That is so hack. Ba-dum-tsh. Oh, God. Seriously. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. Let's go to Bill, line 1 in Bay Ridge. Bill, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ.
Hey, TJ, what's going on, brother?
How are you, Pally boy?
I'm doing all right there, so I just wanted to talk about what you're talking, this topic here.
Yeah.
With a buddy of mine. He's like, how did this guy get away with it for so long? I said he's part of the left-wing propaganda, part of the collective. That's why he got away with it, like David Letterman, where he picked up where he left off, because Craig Ferguson was supposed to get Letterman's job when he was going to retire, because he was crushing it after David Letterman. His ratings were through the roof. Yep. But he was, like you said, he was a true comedian, funny as hell, made people laugh, but he wasn't political. Colbert fit in perfect for where Letterman left off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I gotta think they had to have been losing money for a long. I mean, by the way, it is a changing landscape. I mean, but it all comes back to alienating the viewers that they have watching live. I mean, my God, those numbers have got to be dwindling again, just based on the fact that you can take conservatives out of the picture. If you're only broadcasting to like a third of the nation, right? If you're only broadcasting to like a third of the country, you know, in terms of people who are willing to watch you because you have this leftist offensive, not funny guy, you do that. And then you add in the fact that advertisers, they know what those audience numbers are. And then the advertisers also know that people are fast forwarding through commercials on DVR. And a lot of people are just watching highlights on YouTube.
Well, that's it. They were hemorrhaging money. They were breaking it down today. They were saying, like you said, the production, the music, the crews, the money that they spend in the day is unbelievable. And then people were turning it off. That's why Greg Gutfeld is now the king of late night television.
That he is.
He's funny. You know, he's a great guy. His guests that he has on, funny people, they're comedians. They've gone back to the root of what late night television was supposed to be: funny, entertaining. We don't want to hear about this political nonsense, especially like you said.
And you know what, Bill? I'm big on intellectual honesty. I'm really big on walking and talking the walk and the talk. I'm definitely big.
Me too.
And so on your behalf and on my behalf, let's acknowledge Gutfeld is doing what Colbert, everything we're complaining about Colbert, that's what Gutfeld does. However, that is his audience. That is his, and he's on a network that, well, at least until recently, truly catered to conservative Republicans. You know, I mean, so Gutfeld is definitely super serving a niche. Gutfeld is talking to the people that ran away from Kimmel and Colbert. He's talking to the refugees from CBS and ABC.
Yeah, he's on his own island. He's doing well. The ratings, everything is going through the roof for him. People enjoy going to the show. They enjoy his humor, and, you know, he's doing very good. And like you said, they're all jumping ship and leaving this guy. He's thinking. So, and now with this other lawsuit that Trump has, he's wiping them out. He's wiping them out. And the next one to go is that Jon Stewart, that hack.
Yeah.
He's the next one to go. I hope.
Another self-important leftist. It's just so disappointing. These guys who, you know, I mean, just to waste all that if I was, look, man,
a funny guy.
He was. I worked on the original Jon Stewart show. I worked on the original. I was the audience warm-up back like 30 years ago. I think it was The Late Show. Yeah, on the original, not The Late Show. What was it called? It was, The Daily Show. On the original
Show.
It was actually, and it was much more of like an interview show. No, actually, wait, it was, it was an interview-ish show. And anyway, it was Jon Stewart and,
it was a good show.
It was funny. And I was right there. I was there for, again, I was the audience warm-up comic for that show. So I saw Stewart when he was funny, you know, and, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bill, thank you, Billy. I'm grateful for you calling in, Pally. Whoop. Thank you, buddy. You know what? Bottom of the hour, going to take a break. Al and Lou want to talk about the same thing. Lou has a particularly interesting thing that I want to hear about. That sounds fascinating. I think I know what you're talking about. All right. So 1-800-848-9222. We're talking about the end of Colbert. We're talking about what led to the end of Colbert, which might have been the end of comedy in late night comedy on TV. What do you think about that? Letterman down. Oh my God, miserable. You know, and early morning stuff, Stern. I mean, recently, we found out that Sid beaten Stern. Beautiful. It's about time. The good guys keep winning. Here we go, man. We're winning and winning and winning, just like Trump said we would. 1-800-848-9222. Talking about the beginning of the end of late night television, at least as we know it today, on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick here on 77 WABC. Be right back.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
if anybody remembers the Sears and White Plains, by the way, good morning. I'm sorry. It's 2:35. It's Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. And this is a quintessential Another Side of Midnight moment. Or frame of mind. Does anybody remember the Sears in White Plains on Main Street? And there was a cafeteria restaurant that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it had the same vibe, we would call it today, as like, and because I worked there, I know, like the main room, like at Caesars, it had like a Vegas lounge vibe. It was dark. It was maroon and brown with like a cafeteria slidey tray thing where you would get, plastic covered pie and really good chocolate pudding with whipped cream and sprinkles, all tightly covered in like hermetically sealed plastic wrap. And if I remember correctly, great macaroni and cheese. I am old enough to remember the Woolworths lunch counter. I never did. I was a little too young to be doing any civil rights protests at a Woolworths lunch counter. Didn't exactly have that happening in White Plains. But I am remembering the Sears. And I remember being in the appliance section and like opening and closing all of the refrigerators that were for sale. And you know what? This is weird. I'm such a nut. No wonder I'm doing talk radio at 2:37 in the morning, because I would stick my head into a refrigerator and listen to how silent it was. Right? I would pull my head out of the refrigerator and there would be the music and all the people talking and the salespeople. And then I would stick my head in the refrigerator and it would be silent. And then pull my head back out and annoy. I'm 57 years old. These are my memories. 2:37 here on 77 WABC. My name is TJ McCormick. It's Another Side of Midnight. And we're talking about the beginning of the end of late night programming as we know it. And it's been a long, slow, painful road towards this. And Lou seems to think that Letterman's downfall started with one particular moment. Lou, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight with TJ.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
I think Letterman's downfall was that interview he had with Paris Hilton. We all knew she's an airhead and not a clue, and he really decimated her.
He was mean, wasn't he?
It was mean. There was no reason for that. I think she had just gotten out of prison.
Yeah.
And she, a couple of months for some offense, and he just kept pressing her on that. So how was it in prison? Did you get strip searched? Yeah. All this kind of rude
Did he make her cry? Did he make her cry? Did he make her cry? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think...
I gotta, you know what, Lou, you are so awesome for bringing back this memory, because you know what, man, you are real. Again, I've said this before with other callers. I'm so grateful when you guys call up and you make the show better. This is definitely.
No, you open up this show for a lot of different opinions and topics. It's wide open. I love it.
Thank you, buddy. But really, this is one we've got to do a little look. We got to do a little look, and I got to see if I can't find it. See if we can't find a clip or something like that.
I don't know if he made her cry, but she was definitely.
It was mean spirited.
She was definitely flustered.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, too, you know what, too? See, here he was looking at this girl, thinking she was, knowing she was a rich girl, knowing she was, like you said, at least her persona was that of a simple girl, and, with all this money. And he probably, had a deep-seated categorical resentment of the wealth of her family, even though he had more money than God.
He's from the big West. He didn't grow up with
he's from Indiana.
Silver spoon.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. If I may just add one more of the meanest skits I ever saw.
Sure.
Jimmy Kimmel had a skit like the day after Halloween, where the parents set up the kids and said, I ate all your candy.
Mm.
And some of the kids just freaked out, like, oh, they're crying. And just one said, okay, I guess you were hungry.
Oh.
But for the kids that freaked out, I mean, how mean can you be for a skit on late night TV?
Some people are sick. You know, I mean, I'm not making this comparison.
I mean, that's sick.
But, I mean, some people, you know, they say that, you know, people who mistreat animals, they do, you know. I think people who get any sort of, like, negative reaction like that from kids, there is a sickness there. I mean, you know,
this is not, you know, kids say the darndest things.
Right.
You know, from the 60s, you know.
No.
This is actually getting them to cry.
Yeah. Well, look, we've seen a window into how Jimmy Kimmel thinks, and Jimmy Kimmel,
he'll be next after Colbert.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Me also. Hey, listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You have other callers.
You're awesome.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, buddy boy. Thank you, Lou. 1-800-848-9222. You know, again, there was a time when Howard Stern was edgy, funny, creative, in your face. You know, and again, I made the distinction earlier in the first segment where I said he was potty, not toilet. He was potty by today's standards, especially. And now Howard has just turned into a yenta. He's turned into the yentas. Remember, I learned that word yenta from Howard Stern. I learned that word from him. I learned so much from Howard and from David Letterman. Again, were you like me? Did you start your day with Stern and end it with Letterman? Some of the funniest, freshest, most original, and then they devolved into these two old, crotchety, complaining, sourpuss, unfunny. Ugh. I mean, politically correct is just, it doesn't even show up on the radar for what these guys have turned into, but that's how it started. 1-800-848-9222. Are you disappointed? You know, and I feel bad about this because I love the medium so much. In fact, it is a relatively really late term thing because, Tony, do me a favor. Even Jay Leno had his principles. Even Jay Leno had a similar doctrine as Carson did.
Because the truth is, we trusted Johnny. We trusted him to make us laugh, to entertain us, to speak for us with what was truly an American voice. Johnny hosted the show for 30 years. Think about that. These days, some NBC shows don't last 30 days. Something, my God. What made Johnny such a unique talent was, for 30 years, he was hip. But he was smart enough not to be so hip that next year he was out of style. That was a fine, almost impossible line to walk, and no one did it better than Johnny Carson. Johnny never went out of style. As a comedian, he taught me it was okay to be known for doing political humor, but never make the mistake of thinking you're a political commentator. It's okay to satirize the society we live in, just don't start believing that you're a social commentator.
Boom! There you go. Just don't believe that you're a social commentator. Tell the jokes! Have the fun. Make your money. Be happy you're making money. Be happy you're being paid insane amounts of money. Can you tell I wanted that job at one point in my life? Can you tell that I really wanted it? But do it. But entertain. Don't crush. That's why I try to do this. I mean, yes, I'm incredibly opinionated. I mean, you know, we talk about Mamdani. I talk about this. I'm going after Colbert because he's a leftist. I'm a conservative. But I'm trying to be entertaining as I do it. I'm trying to be me. You know what I mean? I'm being TJ. I'm being this guy that all I've got is funny and cute. That's all I got. I have never kicked ass in my life. I've never had a fight. I've never been able to fight for. I'm a little guy. All I got is funny. Yes, I have an intelligent thing. I like to think I have some brains. God gave me a thinking organ. Okay. But my edge, my angle is always going to be funny. That's all. When I say that's all I got, I mean, that's what I got. Shaq has big, okay? I have funny. Or quirky. Or you know what I mean? If you saw me, you'd agree. Cute. I'm adorable. That I got in spades. Hot, not so much. I'm handsomer now at 57 than I was, I think, when I was 27. Hot, I don't know if I ever got that. Cute? Get out of my way. I'll fight you on cute. I will out-cute everyone out there. Every dude, bring it on. 3rd Avenue. I'll see you out there. I'll come out. We'll have a cute off and I will crush you. 1-800-848-9222 here on 77 WABC. Let's get over to, Al. Hello, Al, line 3. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just saw how long you've been waiting. Apologies.
TJ, funny like how? Like a clown? Like a clown funny? What do you mean?
No. I mean, look, with all respect, I'm just saying you're funny. Like, you say things funny. That's all.
I'm joking.
Of course.
Superb show. On the money in every way, and
thank you.
100% true. Letterman, I've been to his shows. He'd warm up the crowd. He'd come out with 4-letter words, and guess what?
Yeah.
Sharp, entertaining. He was the coffee at the end of the night.
Yep. One of my heroes.
Great. Leno, good, but never really funny. It was yuck funny.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean? Yeah.
And I always say trust the art, not the artist. But the thing is this, with every, the whole audience of all these guys, that audience is dying. They're just moving into, the kids today, they don't want to watch it, you see? And the problem is, if Colbert, I guarantee you this, or Colbert, had not repeatedly whipped people continuously, half the country, right? You're talking half the audience alienated right off the bat. If he hadn't done it, my hand to God, even if they're taking a hit, they still he'd be there another year or two, without a doubt. They might have negotiated him downwards a little bit.
Right.
But it's continuous beat up. You know what I mean? It's not pleasant.
No, it's not.
Guess what? It's pleasant. It's easy.
Yeah.
You're one of the nicest guys on this station.
Oh, thank you.
All right? Honestly.
Thank
you.
And
guess what? It's not whipping, the beating up, and, who wants that? You know what I mean?
Right.
They want to relax.
Exactly.
Listen, enjoy the rest of your summer, okay?
Thank you, Al. God bless. Thank you, buddy boy. 2:47. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Trish. We're going to talk to Gary. And I do have an answer for you, Gary. I do believe I do know who that is, Gary. We shall return here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. The cute. I'm not cocky, but damn it, I'm adorable. I'm cute, and I'll say it loud and I'm proud. If being cute is wrong, I don't want to be right. 1-800-848-9222. We shall return on 77 WABC. Good morning.
Hi, welcome to IKEA.
This is my college campus.
Correct, but I see you're on IKEA.com ordering some college items.
My daughter's room is pretty bare. We need a lamp, some comfy pillows, her favorite stuffy.
Dad!
With pickup options, we've got what you need to conveniently order IKEA. Literally anywhere.
Sweet. More time for gaming.
And studying. Wait, where are you going now?
Have to show the ultimate Frisbee team how easy it is to order from IKEA. Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however you want. Choose from thousands of pickup locations, affordable delivery options, and more.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Everything is more exhilarating when you're on your motorcycle, just like your bike is more protected when you choose Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. They offer coverage for your bike, starting as low as $75 per year. And they keep things affordable, with discounts like paid in full, multi-policy, and responsible driver. So raise your kickstands and get to quoting at Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. $75 premium is for state minimum coverage. Not available in D.C. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
My name is Lily, and I've had hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, for years. I finally found some relief since taking Cosentyx. Relief means I can show up more.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some are fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTIX or Cosentix.com.
Ask your dermatologist about Cosentix.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormick.
So let's see. Let's get over to Trish in New Jersey. Trish, good morning. You are on with me. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Lionel. I just want to say, I'm not going to say thank you for
hold
taking
on.
my call.
I am TJ.
Oh, okay.
I am TJ, Trish.
Oh, well, TJ.
I just sound like him.
Okay.
I just sound like him. Both he and I talk from the top of our voice boxes. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
I am not going to say thank you for taking my call. It really, I just can't understand why everybody says thank you for taking my call. I mean, I know you love your radio friends, but
sure,
it's not necessary. Maybe we have a little pre-recording one.
It's kind of like saying how you doing at the top of every conversation. Or you like
everybody says thank you for taking my call.
Trish, if you want to be original, I love you right back, even though you don't know who the hell I am. That's okay.
Just stop saying that. Get to the point, and that's it. Thank you.
To the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Okay. All right, go on, Trish. So,
and I love your previous caller about the Halloween joke.
Right.
Everybody should have a sense of humor.
I agree.
I ate all your candy. I love it.
Isn't that funny?
Sorry.
Trish, you're lovely. Thank you for calling, Mama. I'll talk to you later. Gary in Inwood. Gary, good morning.
Good morning to you, TJ. I think you know my question.
Yes.
As far as Carly Simon goes.
Okay.
What do you feel on that particular record? Your answer.
I believe, and Gary's question is, who do we think Carly Simon wrote about in You're So Vain? I believe it is, I do believe it's James Taylor, because that's who she was in a long relationship with and had broken up with, not long before that song came out. What is your opinion?
Well, let me say this to you. I talked to a radio host up the dial yesterday, and he came out and he said Cat Stevens. I thought that was ridiculous.
Cat Stevens? You say Ibrahimov? Whatever. What? I just gave him a Russian Jewish last name.
I didn't see that at all. In the demeanor, the answer, no, I didn't see it.
No, it's James Taylor.
Seems to be Warren Beatty.
And okay, I thought it was James Taylor, but okay, well, Warren Beatty, I've actually met Warren Beatty. I have a personal connection to Warren Beatty and Annette Bening.
Yeah, he seemed to fit the profile.
And the guy is definitely aloof. He is aloof in every sense of that word. Gary, thank you for calling, and thanks with that. I love that kind of trivia stuff. I tend to sometimes conflate that question, that trivia question, with Mick Jagger, but that's because Mick Jagger sings background on that song. He sings you'll hear him in the background, "You're so vain." He's the one who turns the word vain into like a two. I see Tony moving. I see Tony looking. He's the one who pronounces vain with two syllables. "You're so vain." You can almost see the lips. Let's get to Jenna or Gina. Gina, like
Lola Brigida. Hi, TJ.
Hey, Gina. All right, tell me now. You're on one of my favorite routes. I'm headed out to Vegas Sunday morning.
Vegas, baby.
I lived in LA for 15 years. I was a regular in Vegas. I used to play all the comedy. I used to open for people. I love the drive from Vegas to California and vice versa. Where on the journey are you?
And I get to hear your voice. I just passed Baker and I'm heading to Barstow.
Oh my God! So you're just past the big thermometer.
The temperature, the thermometer. That's right. World's largest thermometer.
I love that.
Up your nose with a rubber hose.
With the rubber hose. And now you're on the way to Barstow. Oh my God! Is Barstow just?
Well,
Doesn't that just look like it?
It's kind of like going through, you know.
Yeah, no, you're going through.
As I walk through the valley.
Yes, of darkness.
What I wanted to opine about
please.
was the other gentleman who was talking about Paris Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, how she later, now decades later, how she created a character. Interestingly enough, she said her mom and dad, even though they had the Hilton name, they didn't have the money. And she was like 15, 16 years old. And she was, you know, a wild child, supposedly.
Certainly.
Her parents literally had her kidnapped to be taken to a basically, you know,
like a boot camp.
reset. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But, you know, she got raped there. She got assaulted there. And I'll tell you what, you know, she turned it around, did the simple life.
Yeah.
With Lionel Richie's daughter.
Yep,
and, you know, but she became a billionaire and of her own, you know, avant-garde and her own wits and became a DJ. And, you know, so it's, you know, talk about the last laugh with David Letterman. But I wanted to also talk about, you know, the late night hosts. Mm-hmm. Talk about not only late night hosts. Now, I'm 62, born in 62, but Mike Douglas and Dinah Shore. And not only was nighttime, like you were saying, you know, start the day and end the day.
Yeah.
You know, that was like must-see TV, too. You had performers, you had entertainers.
Absolutely. Mike Douglas and Dinah Shore. And Merv Griffin.
I mean, it was such a wonderful time, you know, to be able to have all of that. And it's just, it's a travesty that the kids in the generation today
remember staying home sick from school and like you'd watch the game shows. I'd watch Hazel about the maid. I'd watch Hazel.
Absolutely.
My Three Sons.
All of them. Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, my God.
All of the reruns. Sure, Lone Ranger. And then the 3 o'clock after school special would come on, you know.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Valley, in San Fernando Valley.
Where?
Sherman Oaks. Right off of Ventura and Sepulveda. My dad was actually the Hollywood barber. He had Manuel's of Hollywood. And
it's amazing. Your dad was a Hollywood barber. I lived on Moore Park Street in Studio City. And then I lived, up on Murrieta in, Sherman Oaks.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sherman Oaks, I was right off of Mulholland and Woodcliff. And right down the street, we had Elvis Presley lived there. Liberace lived right there, on the back of St. Cyril's.
And I pronounce your name.
And even Johnny Cash would play the music.
Oh, yeah, St. Cyril's. Oh, my God. Matter of fact, I'll look at this. Oh, my God, the clock is ticking. Gina or Jane?
And Clark, Gina,
you got to call me back sometime. Gina, do not be a stranger. Call me back. I want to talk to you more. I want to know more about you, your life, and your dad, the barber and the Hollywood barber to the stars. Got to hear more from you. It's Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. That was a classic hour of this program. Coming up, Father RObert McTeigue. We're going to talk to a Jesuit priest, but it's going to be very, very interesting. I promise. He's cool. He's a very cool guy. You'll see. Stay right there. 77 WABC coming up on 3 a.m. on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning. Hello there, friends. It's 3:08 here on 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ McCormick, and I do remember being on I-15. Gina, if you're listening, if you're still there, Gina, that was for you because, man, when Radar Love would come on and I'm out there in the middle of the desert at midnight 09, bam, I would make up some time. Ooh, and that's almost a rhyme. Oh, and so is that. So if Gina is still listening and that song came on on that stretch between Baker and Barstow, heading south on I-15. Woo! She probably just hit about at least 102. Now, I don't condone that kind of speeding, but I do enjoy it. 1-800-848-9222 is the number. And, this show, we're all over the place. I mean, that first hour was fantastic. And in the third hour, I mean, this is just a classic Another Side of Midnight, because the third hour at 4 a.m., we're going to be talking recovery. We're going to be talking booze and, a lack thereof, at least in my life. And, but we're going to talk about addiction and recovery, experience, strength, and hope. What was it like? What happened and what it's like now. And, part of that recovery hour we do every Saturday morning, it kind of goes into your personal well-being, depression, anxiety, going to the doctor, making sure you stay on top of things, look after yourself, love yourself, don't blame yourself, give yourself a break, forgive yourself, you know what I mean? Do unto others, which leads us into this hour. So, we're all over the place. We talk about politics here, obviously. We talk about entertainment. We talk about, here in New York, it's Mamdani and what's he going to do? And is this socialist, communist, miscreant really going to make this city worse than it's ever been? And we go out on ledges and we pontificate. And we get holier than thou, and we get angry, and we get, oh, woe is me, and look at me, and we get narcissistic and full of ourselves. And every once in a while, you just sort of need that, again, you need it like at a good old-fashioned wedding from the 70s and the 80s. You need that little dish of sherbet just to cleanse the palate. And, and I've never actually spoken to Father RObert McTeigue, but I present this wonderful father as that sherbet. He's got a sense of humor. I hope he's got it right now. Good morning, Father RObert McTeigue. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. Are you there?
Hey, yes, it's a very, very special treat to be with you. I grew up in Essex County, New Jersey. I used to listen to WABC back in the day.
Wow.
Starting back when it was music.
Oh, okay.
Before talk, it was music. Cousin Brucey, yeah. So,
well, you're welcome home.
That's how far back I go. Well, thank you very much. It's a treat. Also, since you're talking about 12 steps, I'm going to give a shout out. Yes. Bill W.'s great friend was Jesuit Father Ed Dowling. And so a lot of the 12 steps are shot through with Jesuit spirituality. So if you haven't read it already, you want to read a book called The Soul of Sponsorship. The Friendship of Ed Dowling, S.J., and Bill Wilson.
The Soul of Sponsorship.
Sponsorship, yes.
Look at that.
If you haven't read it already, I do recommend.
Father, right off the bat, you are paying dividends to this program and to this recovering alcoholic. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I owe it to you because you said my name right on the first try. That's
Look at that! Rare. I was hey, listen, my mentor is our common connection. My dear buddy and radio professional John Harper is one of the absolute best living broadcasters in America today. And
he's a giant. He's the gold standard.
Isn't he, though? And he teaches me anything that I ever do right, to everybody listening, to the entire early morning family here on Another Side of Midnight. Anything you hear me do right, anything that sounds smooth and as it should be, John Harper taught me that. And John is just one of the best. And it was a fantastic conversation that I heard my friend have with, Father McTeigue that, made me, reach out, to Father and ask him to be on the show. Now, for everyone listening, Father McTeigue just mentioned that he is well, I don't know if he mentioned that he is a Jesuit priest, but he's a Jesuit priest. He's a professor of philosophy and theology. He's an author. And what I'd like to talk about, Padre, is the fact that, we live, you heard me just say, we live in this society. Politics is part of the culture, entertainment, you got, things that push us and pull us. Some of it's healthy, some of it's not. The lines are all blurred between faith and politics and societal norms. and things that we're supposed to aspire to, things that we're supposed to push away, and so everything seems to merge and blur and ebb and flow. And so, first things first, I want you to, we're just coming out of the Independence Day season, and you told a great story about how you spent the 4th of July. Sure. Could you please relate that to the audience here on Another Side of Midnight?
Sure, be happy. I had the privilege of an especially Catholic 4th of July. Among the guests that I was with were about 15 or 20 nuns, a Dominican priest, and the bishop. And 4th of July was a Friday, so, as Americans, we're all looking forward to hamburgers and hot dogs, but this is a very Catholic group, and we don't eat meat on Fridays, even when it's not Lent. They're old school. So we had fish burgers. We had grilled fish burgers. And it was all kind of wholesome and wonderful and so on. And then as it got darker, we put out a fire bowl and we sang patriotic songs. We sang, all the verses for God Bless America and so on. We stood up and put our hand over our heart for the national anthem, all the verses. And then when the sun was fully down and it was time for night prayer, we stood in front of a statue of Mary and sang the Salve Regina in Latin, which is the best way to do it. And so it was very patriotic and wholesome. And we had people from all over the country, age groups and so on. And we're also deep in the faith. And there's a way of making that work. It's not obvious to some people, and some people say it shouldn't work. But I had a really great time and didn't have anything to apologize for either as an American or as a Catholic.
Now, you did that in someone's backyard. What do you think would have happened if you did that exact sort of celebration in Central Park or on the Upper West Side or in Prospect Park in Brooklyn? What do you...
I could hear CBS News say, our top story tonight, Jesuit arrested in violent fray.
Violent fray. And he proclaimed his innocence in Latin.
That's right. It wasn't me. He started it, I swear. My fingers never left my hands. I don't know what you're talking. I have no idea where the pepper spray came from. So, yeah, I'm from Newark, New Jersey originally. I'm a street thug who made good. So, but that having been said, there are a lot of places that just wouldn't. I mean, there are even some Catholics like, come on, it's the 4th of July, Father. You got to have hot dogs and hamburgers. But we had fish. But aside from that, there's been a long tradition of American suspicion of Catholics. Even today, it's one of the few socially acceptable bigotries. And as late as the late 19th century, American Catholics were so desperate to prove that they're real Americans that Leo XIII wrote a letter, several letters to the American bishops, say, look, guys, you got to be Catholic. I'm glad you're doing well. You're building schools and monasteries and hospitals, and that's great. But, oh, my gosh, don't dial back the Catholic part to fit in and be one of the guys. And Leo XIII got blown off, and I was told in my days of study, Americanism, that's not a real heresy. It just shows that European prelates don't understand America. But then when you actually read Leo XIII, which I recommend, I said, no, he may be onto something.
Yeah. And by the way, everybody, 1-800-848-9222. It's Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick, and we're grateful to Father RObert McTeigue for staying up and joining us live, which is a real treat. Father, so that leads me to sort of a natural, just quick question about Leo XIV. He recently, it's interesting. It was a busy news week, but I caught in the news, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we heard that the Holy Father got ticked off this week about the supposedly, I believe, God willing, I would pray that it was an inadvertent hit of the Catholic Church in Gaza?
In Gaza, yeah.
He was angry. He got ticked off, I understand, and kind of stomped his foot. He's obviously hoping for a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire. This week, he kind of shook his fist and shouted about it.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of loss of innocent life there, and the church is never okay with that.
Right.
And, in the fog of war, do accidents happen? Yes. Is there friendly fire? Yes.
Right.
As you can imagine, someone in my position, because I work in media like you, you and I are the recipient of very many oral traditions, some of which we can verify, some of which we can't. One of the oral traditions I've received that I've not been able to verify is that the Israeli tank was aiming for the cross atop of the church and actually damaged the roof, which caused a collapse and led to injuries. I can't prove that. I don't want that to be true. I hope it's not true. But in any case, it's the proper role of the Holy Father to stand up and give voice to the voiceless and to defend the vulnerable and to call belligerents to an examination of conscience. There's a very good, noble history of popes doing that.
Yeah. And so he's following in some very noble footsteps in that regard and unassailable. I don't think there's any supporter of Israel, even a fervent, Zionist supporter of Israel who would not echo those same sentiments about this particular incident. It's just a no-brainer. You just, and I think we're all kind of hoping that exactly as you said, that was the case, that it was not as that was described.
I hope it shocks people enough that they'll step back from the trigger for a little bit, maybe talk to each other.
Yes. 100%. Absolutely. And so right here, this illustrates how our faith and our politics might be, or have been merging. And, and sometimes faith leads the conversation over the politics. Sometimes politics leads. What would you call, because here in New York, and again, I'm not going to get nuts and bolts politics with you. I wouldn't impose that on you. I respect the boundaries. But did you vote for Trump? No, I'm just kidding. But I do respect those boundaries. I do genuinely. That being said, here in New York, we're looking at a young upstart, Mamdani, who, sometimes he leads, his politics leads him because, he's a politician, but we've heard some very disturbing things that are faith-based come from this young upstart. And therefore the conversation has been led by faith sometimes. The political conversation here in New York is being led by faith every now and then, inextricably because of this candidate and what he espouses, both politically and faith. So let me ask you, what would you say is Christian or Catholic, but Christian patriotism?
Okay. We have to kind of shimmy our way back up the tree. Let's start with justice. Justice is a virtue of right relationship with others, either as individuals or in groups, and to give to each his due, what is owed. Piety is a subset of justice, and justice involves duty and reverence to God, to parents, and to country. Thomas Aquinas would say you owe a debt to the land of your birth because it's the land where you were born. And assuming you had a reasonably decent society, it helped to form your character and so on. And patriotism specifies piety in relation to national heritage, obedience to just laws, working for the common good. And I want to pause for a second, TJ, because a lot of Catholic speakers talk about the common good, and I suspect what they really mean is redistributing other people's wealth after it's been collected by men with badges and guns. And then after we redistribute it to people we like, then we take our cut for administrative purposes. TJ, you've been at those masses during the prayers of the faithful where someone says, "Oh, Lord, now that we've identified another human need, in thy mercy, raise up a mighty federal program so that we can work as an NGO as our Lord commanded." Amen. So that's not what the common good means. The common good means forming a society that makes it easier to live and die as a saint.
Mm.
And that doesn't involve necessarily redistributing other people's wealth at gunpoint. But you know what? There's no money in that. So that's why we have that distorted view of the common good. So a Catholic patriotism would be a recognition that individuals and communities are accountable to God and will be evaluated according to the revelation Christ entrusted to the church he founded. And often, even among what I call, there's a club you don't want to belong to, TJ, called the People Who Should Really Know Better Club. And if I nominate you for that, that's a bad thing. There's the whole Catholic division of the People Who Should Really Know Better Club. And the Catholic division is led by very many people who forget the God part. And forget that the primary justice is right worship of God and gratitude for creation.
I got to tell you, you know what? I'm gonna bear witness to that. In most of my adult, especially sober years, it's been 20 years now. Thank you. It's when I forget the God part. It's when I forget, or rather, when I realize that I'm back on track, I'm realizing I'm in the God part, and then I sort of realize, oh, this is where I screwed up. I forgot the God part. Now I'm in it, and things are better now. Right.
So you were bearing witness.
Yeah.
You said, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is I'm saying is that I'm relating to what you said, is that when I forget the God part, that's when I'm going in the wrong direction. Right. That's when I'm off track. It's not when it's when when I don't take the time to be quiet with myself and take a moment to either let myself figure something out or see the forest through the trees. It's when I'm not doing things right by my wife, by my daughters, by my friends, by myself. If I'm not doing right by me, if I don't give myself a break or a chance to recalibrate, then it's because I'm not connected.
Right. And St. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, said, or what he called the first principle of foundation, man is created for the praise, reverence, and service of God, and thereby to save his soul. So you judge everything in terms of, is this good for my salvation? Just as you, as a married man, say, is this good for my marriage? Just as you, as a sober man, say, is this good for my sobriety? And the temptation of Catholic groups who want Caesar's coin, which always has strings attached, always. We want Caesar's coin, so we'll talk about social justice, the redistribution of wealth, and we'll act like an NGO. Why? So that way we don't have to talk about the Sixth Commandment, because no one wants to have that conversation. No one wants to have the awkward Catholic conversation about the meaning of marriage and the definition of marriage, or abortion, or contraception, or IVF. We don't want to have those awkward conversations, because then we'll never be invited to sit at the cool kids table again. Maybe the cool kids table won't look so attractive now that Stephen COlbert has been canceled, but that's not for me to say.
Yes, which was the I bet was the first hour of our broadcast. Everyone, we're talking to Father RObert McTeigue. He's a Jesuit priest, a professor of philosophy and theology. He's written many books. He's a brilliant communicator, and very, very grateful to have him with live here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. It's 1-800-848-9222. So, there are elections all over the country coming up. We're not in a bubble here in New York City. There's going to be contentious elections everywhere. And we're starting to see that, there might be a little bit of a trend here with guys like Mamdani. There's a young upstart in Minneapolis, I believe, who was cut from the same cloth as this guy. And, what I'm wondering is, as before November 4th, as we're talking to the country every now and then here on 77 WABC, what are some of the questions I should ask a candidate, who might be a Christian? What questions, what subjects do you think I should broach with a candidate for office who claims to be a Christian?
Now, do you want to evaluate him as a candidate, or you want to evaluate him as a disciple of Christ?
Well, let's say one who's wearing it on his sleeve and is
Sure.
you know what I mean?
What's moral north for you? What are your moral compass points? What are the stars you steer by? Be specific.
What's moral
okay? Because
north?
in moral life, I mean, there's black and white, good and evil. There's love your kids, don't eat grandma, and those are things that can't be negotiated.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there's legitimate gray. So you have kids, you have an obligation to educate your kids. Okay, that's non-negotiable. What's the best way to educate your kids? That's legitimate gray. That's a prudential matter. But you evaluate that not randomly, but by your fixed moral compass points. I want to find out what his moral compass points are. I want to start with that. I want to know what his plans are to protect the most vulnerable members of society. I taught medical ethics for many years, and I said we're only as safe as the most vulnerable member of our society, which means we're all basically screwed because we tolerate the slaughter of the unborn.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not willing to talk about that up front,
right?
And how do you feel about spending other people's money? Does it make you uncomfortable?
Right.
Do you pray for guidance before you spend other people's money? Those are the types of questions I would start to ask. Very cool.
Padre, do you mind? I've got to take a quick break. When we come back, would you be cool taking a couple of calls? We have a couple of people with questions for the Father. That'd be wonderful.
Of course,
Thank you. Excellent.
Great, yeah.
Look at us. We're doing Real Talk Radio here, Father.
How about that?
Look at that. Everyone, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. That'll be me. And we are talking to Father Robert McTeigue, and we're having a great conversation here. Really fascinating stuff. It's 3:31. We're going to come right back here on 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222. Call back.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
Grandpa's here!
Hank's always helping out. Grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi and enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles. Fluffy, golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the "I'm hungry" from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants across the country. Anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. Goldbelly ships Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garden's famous cakes. So, if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's goldbelly.com, promo code GIFT.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC.
And we continue now with Father Robert McTeigue, who, by the way, also is a broadcaster himself. Clearly, the man is as eloquent and smooth a communicator as anyone out there, as I stumble over my words trying to express that. But he hosts the Catholic Current, and that's via the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. The Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network, you can hear Father Robert McTeigue host the Catholic Current. And you can find all of his other work, his writings and his commentary on heraldofthegospel.org. Did I nail that?
You got it, yeah.
I just fell over the finish line. Okay, all right. I think I did. Okay.
No, my producer will cry if I don't mention that.
No. No, it's crucial. Absolutely. Don't make him cry. Let's see. So, let's get over to Sal. Sal was the first to call in with a question for the Father. Sal in Florida. Good morning. Welcome to Another Side with myself and Father Robert McTeigue.
Oh, hi, TJ. Hi, Father.
Hey.
I'm so excited to meet you on the air. I've been listening to anyway.
Yes, sir.
Where are you based right now? Where's your parish?
Actually, we're not. Father is sort of in between locations right now, so that's we don't really. What's your question for Father Sal?
My question is, how come the Jesuits are into two poles, like the modernists and like you, Father Robert, who are in two different poles, like LGBTQ pole and
you mean?
So I tell you this much: the only Jesuit I can speak for is myself. Mm-hmm. And as a Jesuit, I was formed by the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius Loyola, and I try to evaluate all of my life and all that I see and experience in light of the spiritual map that St. Ignatius Loyola gave me in the spiritual exercises. Now, I do that imperfectly because I am acutely aware of the fact that I'm a sinner. At the end of a broadcast, I always ask people to pray for me, because I am a sinner. And what I promote is not myself or my personal opinion, but what Christ has entrusted to his church, then handed on to me, and I spice it and flavor it and color it in light of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, which is the founding document and and map for all of Jesuit life. And I try every day, with the grace of God, to live that charism as best I can. And one of the reasons why I'm into broadcasting now is Jesuits have always been very much involved in the ministry of the word, always using the latest technology from the printing press back in the day to radio. We were early adopters of radio, and now it's satellite technology as well. So I ask you to pray for me and all my Jesuit brothers, because we've got very high standards to live up to.
You do indeed. You do. It really is such a calling, especially in your order. It really is something else in your community. James in Queens has a question for Father McTeigue. You're on Another Side of Midnight with TJ and Father McTeigue.
You know what? I love. I never tuned into this show before, but I love both of you guys.
Thank you.
I've been going on.
Thank you.
I've been going on a retreat once a year for the last 30 years.
Very good.
And one of my favorite friends is Jesuit priest.
Good. Good. Well, we encourage brand loyalty. Having time out for
brand loyalty. I'm a Volvo guy, and most of my priests are diocesan. But go on.
Wait a second. I go to a Franciscan high school.
Okay. Well, I don't judge. I've heard of them. No, those are good people too.
I'd like it noted for the record that a priest made me snort laugh. I actually honked just now. And Dear Diary today. James, did you actually have a question for the father?
Not really, but my mother, that's where I got it from, I guess. Mm-hmm. She loves the Jesuits. She said, those Jesuits, they are the smartest guys in the world.
Yeah, they are. They are. And they know it too, James. They know it. There's a certain arrogance about them. Sometimes it's an aw shucks arrogance.
We're just acutely aware of the grace of our vocation.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, how about that?
You threaded that ego needle pretty well there, Father.
Yeah. There's a story of a nun who worked at Jesuit headquarters in Rome for many years. And they said, "Sister, what's it like spending all the time with all those Jesuits?" And she smiled knowingly and said, "The Jesuits, oh yes, the Jesuits, they know everything, but nothing else." So there's a certain degree of wisdom.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh, Father, you're good. Let's get over to. Oh, you know what? We only do this in very special situations. Gina is calling. She called not too long ago, but we're going to bring her back because she's an automatic favorite because she's driving through the desert from Vegas to California. Okay. Gina, welcome back. Come right back in.
Hey, Father. Thank you so much. I'll tell you what. Radar Love hit right as I was passing Calico Ghost Town, so you were right on.
Oh, Calico Ghost
Town of all time.
I had to call, Father, because I've been in Vegas since February, so right before Lent. And here's a shout out that everybody going to Vegas, you've got Guardian Angel Cathedral, the Catholic Cathedral, right there in the shadow of the Encore, Las Vegas Boulevard. They got a 1 o'clock that is packed. Every Sunday, 500 people are there.
Wow.
Come as you are, Vegas Central, and the Father there. I mean, he ends masses before the go in peace. He breaks off. He tells a joke, and you're laughing and you're shaking hands. Well, my question to you is, now that we've come through with the big, beautiful bill and they went to defund Planned Parenthood and the idea of not liking to see how the sausage is made when you're talking about unaliving the innocents, and I love the fact that all over Las Vegas there's billboards saying 9-week-old babies have fingerprints. So I just wanted to get some of your input, and thank you so much for taking me again.
Of course,
love you,
Gina.
TJ.
You're the best.
Well, TJ, I've taught medical ethics since 1998, and I'm on the National Ethics Committee for the Catholic Medical Association. I would always tell my students this: never talk about abortion in the abstract. You have to talk about a woman with a name and a blood type. You have to talk about her child who has an age and a sex, and you have to talk about a doctor. And you should speculate as to, did he graduate the bottom of his class or the top of his class? Guys who qualify for brain surgery don't end up doing abortions. And you got to describe the instrument in his hand and what he plans to do with it. And you have to be able to answer very specifically, how do you know when an abortion procedure is successful? And unless and until you're able to answer all those questions with absolute specificity, then you're a poser and you don't really want to talk about abortion. You want to whistle past the cemetery, and it's my job to make sure that you don't do that.
That was some profound stuff. Wow. Wow. Thank you for that answer. And thank you, Gina, for that great question. Thank you. And, I'm going to be in Vegas. And I think I land on time to make that 1 o'clock. I'm going to have to definitely do that. That'd be cool to be there with 500 people. And let's get over now to, just before we take our last break, let's get over to Pete in Staten Island. Pete, you have a comment about your experience with the priesthood. You're talking to Father Robert McTeigue.
Hi.
Hey.
I've had a wonderful experience. I've been actually mentored and guided by 3 men that were Jesuits. One was remained as, his name was Father King in Staten Island, and he took care of Mount Marisa. And as a young man, I had a severe alcohol problem from about 16 to 20. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of years, but what I drank in that time was unbelievable. And the other one was Ross Calamano. He became a deacon for the church, and he maintained Lady of Lourdes in Staten Island. And the other gentleman was Bill Cole. He was a Franciscan, and he actually left the priesthood. He saw a rocket right in front of St. Patrick's, and he followed her home and married her, and I dated his daughter for years until she died of cancer.
This is such a New York Catholic phone call.
Yes. But what I learned from these men was they mentored me, and they made me into a very happy man, working and doing a good job at what I did. Now I'm retired, and I reach out. I help people with drug overdoses by doing Narcan. I go out at the middle of the night and I try to do rescues. I've been very successful with it, and
good for
it's
you.
a passion for me because
you got that
I
training
went that way if I didn't have these men to guide me.
Well, thank you, Pete. Thanks for calling in, buddy boy. I appreciate that. It's always good to hear from Pete. You know, Father, we're gonna, before we wrap up our conversation, I was just gonna. More than a couple of times you've talked about being a sinner and being broken, and that, for me, every once in a while, I just really need it really simple, and I need it really simplified and hit right between the eyes. And I'll just tell you one of my little stories. I sort of had as one would imagine, Father, I had sort of a rebirth, not of my faith, but of my, my active faith and making my faith a verb and living and being my faith, around the time when I got sober. And I was, a parishioner at St. Francis de Sales. Gina will recognize this. St. Francis de Sales in Sherman Oaks, California. And there was a funky priest. This guy, I never saw him in a collar. I don't know what order, what community, I don't know what. He wore a Hawaiian shirt and rode a motorcycle. He's one of those guys. You know what I mean? The priest they make a movie about, and and his name was Father Ken Deasy. I don't know if that rings a bell. Father Ken Deasy. And he came in and he gave like a Lent boot camp. He set up residency at St. Francis de. And the simple, and just one of the simplest things I ever learned. And you talk about like simple. This is literally mixing, water with flour to, I don't know, make matzah. It was simply this mantra of fix me, Jesus, fix me. If you know what I mean? Like, an AA guy, a guy who, one of those old timers, like 50 years sober. Thank you, God, for everything you've given me. Thank you for everything you've ever taken away. And thank you for everything you've left me with. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, and those are, sometimes when I get into those mantras, if you will, in the car before I do a show, before I have to talk to my wife because we had an argument before, or whatever, I will, sometimes it is the simplest of the prayers that just fixes a multitude of brokenness.
Amen. That's true. Let me, if you want, here's the shortest recipe possible for a reliable path to holiness. Take 5 minutes a day, same time every day, non-negotiable, and just review the past 24 hours and just count your blessings. Let yourself be amazed and marvel at how blessed you are, and then resolve to spend the rest of the day looking for opportunities to prove to God that you're grateful, because there's always something to be grateful for, and there's always a way to prove it. And if you're really busy looking for opportunities to prove that you're grateful, you're not going to get into mischief, and you're not going to get involved in comparisons and other nonsense. And if you're looking to prove that you're grateful, you're not going to get involved in self-pity. You know the self-pity story from AA, pour me, another drink.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to say that if you're busy looking to prove to God that you're grateful.
Padre, if there is a first thing that I have been taught to say to someone who comes to me, because I'm always offering, I'm always making myself trying to be of service to other addicts. When I do hear from one or two, when I do find myself in a conversation, even here on the show, because in the 4 o'clock hour, our next hour is we do recovery hour. Sure. First thing I'll tell somebody is one of the first things my sponsor would ever tell me: sit down, make a grateful list. Yeah. Which is basically what you just said. Make a grateful list, and then you realize that, here's another, this is something you're going to love this. This is something my sponsor says. Said, next time you're sitting around thinking, what's the point? What the heck is the point? You're the point. I love that. You're the point. And that is so universal. It cuts through everything. It's such a sponsory thing to say. You're the point. I love that. And that cuts through.
You're the man whom God loves, and you have an obligation to treat yourself accordingly.
Indeed. Oh my gosh, this has been an amazing 50 minutes. Father, I am so grateful. Everybody, this has been Father Robert McTeigue. You can find him at heraldofthegospel.org, heraldofthegospel.org, and you can hear more of that fantastic, wonderful voice, over on the Catholic Current, which you can find at the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. He hosts the Catholic Current. Father McTeigue, thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. You're a new friend, and I'm so grateful.
Amen. It's a treat. Anytime. God's peace. I wish you well in your work.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Saturday. That was awesome. Gang, we got to take a quick break. We shall return. It's another side of midnight with TJ McCormick here on 77 WABC. God bless.
All night long. This is another side of midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC.
At 4 a.m. here, gang, we're going to talk addiction, recovery, et cetera, et cetera. And just real quick, we're going to pop into line 3 here, Maureen in Sherman Oaks, because that's where I got sober. I was living on Moore Park Street when my wife kicked me out of the house, and I had to start living right. And ended up in rehab. Maureen, you live in Sherman Oaks.
I do. In fact, I live around the corner from St. Francis de Sales on Dickens.
On Dickens. That's a lovely little street, yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to shout out to you also, because I think you have to keep Radar Love as your theme song.
Oh, really?
I saw Golden Earring.
Yes.
In 1975 in New Orleans.
Ooh.
Where I graduated from Loyola University. So there's this confluence of things going on tonight that I felt compelled to call about.
Oh, my goodness.
And, and I want to say hi to Gina as she drives back to Sherman Oaks.
Yes, and I'm going to be landing in Las Vegas on Sunday morning. This is just this is just a connecting thread here, Maureen.
It really, I know. I never call in, but I listen to you and I love your show. And
you're lovely.
I thought I've got to call tonight.
Oh, you're so nice. I tell you, I was, when we left Los Angeles, the time was right. We had been there forever, or for a long time. And, the timing was right to leave. And at the time I was really done with it. But I gotta say, I've been feeling little tugs here and there. I mean, it's impossible. We could never move back now with our daughters and stuff. But there are bits and pieces of living there that I do miss.
Yeah. Well, parts of the valley are really nice. And I think that Sherman Oaks is one of the best.
Oh, definitely. Do you go to St. Francis de Sales?
No, the one I went to when I went to church. I went to 16 years of Catholic school. Went to New Orleans. I went to Dominican high school where Amy Coney Barrett graduated from.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And, I went to the one, it was Moore Park in Lancashire, and I can't think of the name
is that St. Charles Borromeo?
That's right, St. Charles Borromeo.
That was Bob Hope's parish.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. Look at that.
Gwen Stefani goes there.
Yep. That's what I heard. And so my wife used to own a business over on Ventura Boulevard. She owns Penny Lane Dance Academy, and it was right there next to Bob's Boot Camp. There's like a 2-level little shopping center there on Ventura. It's anchored by the old the Lorena Theater.
Yes.
Right upstairs was Penny Lane Dance Academy. All right, listen, Maureen, I'm glad we connected. That was awesome. Everyone, this is Another Side of Midnight. You're all making the show so much better this morning, and I'm so grateful. When we return, we're going to open up the phones for everything, but especially Recovery Hour. Any sort of conversation you want to have about addiction or a lack thereof in your life, a loved one, you, we'll talk about it, experience strength and hope. All right, 1-800-848-9222. It's Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ McCormick. This is the gold standard, 77 WABC.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack on 77 WABC. And we are now into a lovely Saturday morning, the 19th of July. And this portion of the program every Saturday morning, we start leaning into recovery. Recovery. That sounds so formal. It sounds like, recovery. You know, it sounds like we're all laying in a bed with a big old 1940s plaster cast on our on our leg. And, or like shock therapy or something. Basically, if your life is unmanageable, if you are powerless over something, making your life unmanageable, that's pretty much the definition. Every once in a while, we could sort of recalibrate, or not recalibrate, just sort of recap. Recalibrate, yes. Like on the map, when you're going all over the place on Google Maps, and then you have to hit recenter every now and then to go, where the hell was I? Where did I start this mapping rabbit hole that I went down? Because I'll do that. I will drive around like Jeannie driving from Vegas to LA. I will drive the virtual vehicle. I'll put the little yellow guy on Google Maps. I'll plop him in a spot and I'll just start driving around. And I've been doing that actually with Vegas because, yes, a Sunday morning, within minutes of saying bye to y'all, I will be going to fly to y'all in Vegas. And I've been doing that recently on the Google Maps, looking and trying to decide where we're going to stay. And, because we're going to have I want to make sure my daughter is happy where we're near things and stuff. So anyway, as I hit recenter, I just caught myself going off on a tangent and a weirdness. And for the benefit of all y'all, I stopped. Okay. I caught myself. Thank you. So as we sort of hit the recenter button here, what we're talking about, when I say addiction, when I say, you or a loved one or a friend or a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a sister, or a brother, the definition, if you will, and I say definition, it's not as rigid as this, because who the heck are we to say? But generally speaking, if we're talking about alcoholism or drug addiction or gambling addiction, it's defined, we all pretty much stipulate that we embrace the notion that you, quote unquote, have it. If you are powerless over that vice, you're powerless over it, and your life is unmanageable because of that. And whether it's booze or gambling or drugs or shopping, spending, sex. If it's sex, we really want to hear from you. No. Sorry, that's the punchy TJ at 4:10 in the morning. No. And by the way, the number is 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. And I, you know, and sometimes it's, look, they say, oh, well, you know, it all starts with, acknowledging that you have a problem. Okay. Yeah. You know, there's a few cliches that are attached to recovery, you know, and that's one of them. And it's true, you know, like most cliches, it's pretty much true. You have to acknowledge it. Like, is it the first step? And maybe it's the first, you know, another thing is, you know, is that you gotta wanna. You have to want to be well. You have to want to quit, you know, or get help. You have to want to get, and that's true. That's true too. You know, again, it's not as, you know, crystal as that. It's not as, you know, but yes, ish, you know, that is certainly an early stage thing that is a necessity. You have to be willing to engage what it's going to take to get well. And there's also, you know, the other cliche that is really true is that the person has to hit rock bottom. Thing is I'll finish that sentence or that phrase. The individual has to hit rock bottom and know it. I mean, we can all pretty much determine when we see somebody hit a rock bottom, and it's like, oh man, how much further do you have to fall? How harsh must this be? I have someone very, very, very close to me who is at, I think, right about 6 months. If all is going well, he's at about 6 months right now. Clean. I'd like to say clean and sober, but for me, sober isn't just, for me, sober isn't just, not drinking. For me, it's behavior. For me, it's my behavior. Cause you hear that, I don't know if usually people in whatever program or whatever degree of recovery have heard the phrase, a dry drunk. Have you ever heard that? A dry drunk. A dry drunk is a drunk who's just not drinking, but is still way off the rails in their behavior. Doesn't have much sobriety. Now that, my toes are definitely on the edge of being judgmental. I'm a little bit in the judgy territory when I start talking about way off the rails. Okay. Admitted, granted. I will stipulate that I'm being kind of judgy. But there is definitely something to be said about what I believe to be a fact, that alcoholism is a symptom of a big problem. And you know, behavior, the alcoholic behavior, my alcoholic behavior, temper and self-loathing and lying and just being so selfish and so unbelievably narcissistic and running away from like every responsibility in my life. All of those character flaws well predated me finally finding a drink that I could deal with. I've said before, I wasn't much of a huge drinker. I would drink situationally, and I wouldn't get drunk. And if I did, I wouldn't drink for weeks. I didn't like being drunk or the hangover and stuff. You know, And one person in my early sobriety even said to me, you were an alcoholic in search of a drink. And that was really profound and true. Because again, I remember I was in Studio City, and I don't know if Maureen and Jeannie know it, but there was a place called the Fox and Hounds on Ventura Boulevard in Studio City, near Lancashire, on Ventura Boulevard. And it was we're a British pub, whatever. And my wife and I were sitting there, and I had just had a bad experience. I was just going to say, I had just had a bad experience with a pilot. I sound like a flight attendant. No, I had just had a pilot, a sitcom pilot that like crashed and burned, didn't go anywhere, didn't get picked up. And I was really banking a lot, career and everything, and it didn't pan out. And it was a big one too. And I was really getting miserable. Anyway, we're sitting there having brunch one day, and I had a gin and tonic for the first time in my life. A gin and tonic. Never had one before. I remember saying, what do I want to drink? I don't want a beer. I don't know. And I said, you know what? Let me try a gin and tonic. And my wife was like all excited. She, ooh, yeah, I bet you'll like it. I was like, ooh, yeah, maybe. And I said to and waitress said, what kind of gin do you want? I said, ooh, I don't know. What kind of gin do I want? Now it's fun. Now now I can pick my liquor. Let's see. And I went with whatever, Tanqueray probably. And something about that gin and tonic just hit right. Wasn't all harsh. It wasn't too sweet. It wasn't too, didn't burn your throat. No aftertaste, no acidic, no smooth. It was like a dry diet Sprite, like a dry Sprite or something like that with a kick. And after the second one, I was comfortably numb in a way I hadn't been before with any other drink. And I found myself liking that numb. Never liked it before. I was down. I was wanting to really, really, really forget that ill-fated sitcom pilot. And I was wanting to forget a so-so show I had recently had on a cruise ship. And I wanted to forget. And I wanted to be somebody else. I wanted to be more successful, but I didn't want to be more successful me. I wanted to literally be just somebody else. I was really starting to dislike myself. So this stuff started to go away by the time, and again, I must have had 4 that day. And that next day, I think it was a Monday, the next day I woke up, I was thinking, I have got to I'm thinking too much already. It's 10 a.m. and I am already way too conscious for my liking. I like that less conscious I was feeling yesterday. What was it, Tanqueray? I'm going to have to get me some a little bit later today. And so it began. So this, and I want, and I mean, it's literally, that's actually how it began. And then there's a few other wrinkles and twists and turns. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. If any of this is ringing a bell, sounding familiar, or if you have any questions, if you have any curiosities about this too, literally if you're wondering something, Did I see it coming? Why not? What did your wife do? If you have any questions at all, I'm an open book, because the more people out there who need to hear something need to learn. If you ask, for all we know, you might ask the right question that might bring about, and the honest answer might be the key for someone else to go to a meeting today. This might be the first Saturday of the rest of somebody's life out there. So it may be predicated upon you asking a question. And perhaps my answer, that combination could save a life. If something's burning a hole in your pocket about me, honestly, I'm an open book. I'm happy to answer. Or anything on your own behalf, or somebody you love, or somebody you know, or somebody you like, somebody you hate. And you think maybe I'll hate them less if they get sober. 1-800-848-9222. And so this person very, very close to me, who's supposed to be at about 6 months now. I am hoping they are sober. I'm confident they are. I know they're dry. I know they're clean. I know they're not drinking or using. But anyway, this person, when they were on the journey to start the journey of getting sober, it was funny because other people close to this person were talking about rock bottom, And at one point, this guy was like living in a borrowed house. It was a house that was like under renovation, and he was friends with the guy who owned it and was paying to have it renovated, and he let him live there. And so basically he was living in like a house that had been torn down to the studs. And at one point, I was talking to him on the phone, and I was like, if you're waiting for rock bottom, I said, look, I understand there's rock bottom. I said, if you don't think that look where you are. You're living in a house with like exposed wires because you can't pay rent for, a bottom is relative. Rock bottom is relative. Some people, their rock bottom was they killed somebody in an intersection. Some people's rock bottoms, they tried to kill themselves. My rock bottom was blessedly quite high, but it was my bottom and it worked. And the only reason, here's the other thing too, my clarity is I know that my bottom was the height that it was solely thanks to the grace of God. I told you a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, I told you what we do. The ritual, the alcoholic ritual in the morning. Get up, bolt up out of bed. You bolt up. Oh God, when did I get home? How did I get home? And we go, we throw on the slippers, the shorts, we run downstairs, we go check the car. We do a lap around the car, looking for blood, looking for hair, looking for damage, and praying that we don't find any, because we know that means, we're just making sure we didn't hit anybody on the way home. How's that for a lifestyle? Coming up on What's Your Rock Bottom? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-WABC. We're talking recovery, and Andrea wants to talk about gin. Good morning.
Thank you.
All right. Is
Good
it Andrea?
Morning. How are you doing?
I'm well. Is it Andrea or Andrea?
Yes. No, Andrea now. When I'm rich, it'll be Andrea.
Oh, I hear you. Oh, that's what. No, I totally get it. Your name will gain an accent as you climb the social ladder. My wife is Andrea. She saved my life, so that's special.
Cool. All right, good. Let me tell you a few facts about gin.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one, gin is made.
Oh my God.
Laid back. With my mind
on my money, on my money, on my mind. All right, Andrea, go ahead. Tony just had to get that out of his system.
Oh, Lord. Maybe he needs some gin.
Maybe
he needs some gin.
I think so.
Let's talk briefly. I want to get this over with.
Yes,
now,
please.
Number one, gin is a clear liquid, just like vodka and tequila, which is a safer alcohol than some of the darker alcoholic products because they are then fermented in barrels and tannins, and they're not healthy at all.
Mm-hmm.
So the lighter the beverage, the lighter the alcohol, the safer it is. All right, moving on. Gin is made from juniper berries.
Yes, juniper berries.
I not only live in Sparta, but I've got a farm down there in Missouri. And my property is surrounded by juniper trees, which give off these incredible berries that are blue. And then when you dry them out, you can actually make gin.
Yes.
Gin, as you said, it's completely different than other alcohols. It's really interesting. It's delicious. It's wonderful. In moderation, of course.
You're telling the wrong guy.
Gin? Okay.
Yes.
No. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna straighten you out.
No, okay.
I'm gonna straighten you out.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So get ready for it. Be prepared.
I'm ready.
Actually, and then we'll talk about people I've cured of fibromyalgia with vitamins. All right. Moving on. So anyway, gin is the booze of choice in England.
Yes.
They're all, how could we say this? They're all mummified. They drink gin constantly. I mean, look at the king. They drink it. You know what he is.
Yes.
They drink gin on a daily basis. That's the booze of choice.
Yes.
Now, in your case, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on vitamin therapy.
Okay.
And I guarantee you're going to get better. Years and years and years ago, I had fibromyalgia. And with fibromyalgia, you know you're dying. You know your cells are dying. You know there's something seriously wrong. And there is something seriously wrong because the mitochondria within your cells are slowly dying, and you feel this. So I did a variety of things seeking help medically, and all they want to do is obviously give you prescriptions. Forget it.
Right.
Went to a famous doctor in New York, will not name him, and it was actually his physician's assistant who said to me, I was seated on a couch, and he passes by and he says, what are you here for? And I said, fibromyalgia. I mean, it was a last-ditch effort to get cured. And he said to me, oh, that's simple. You're going to take Emergency. Normally, I don't listen to anyone.
All right.
I think I know everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, I actually listened. I bought it. It's you can get it in pharmacies.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've seen it. Yeah, I've
exactly.
seen it.
Okay. Now, turn the box around. A misnomer is the name Emergency. Turn it around. It is made of vitamins and minerals
and juniper
and
berries.
Electrolytes. It's loaded. None. Well, I can talk about an adult beverage that you can put Emergency in. Anyway, moving on. But anyway, so I listened, which is rare for me. And anyway, so I bought the Emergency.
Yeah.
Got a glass out, tall glass, put a third of a glass of orange juice in it, water, and then the Emergency packet, which fizzed.
Right.
The first sip, I knew this is it.
Well,
number one.
Andrea, actually, I'm sorry. I'm only going to cut you off only because, to use the bar parlance, I'm going to cut you off only because I'm sort of kind of trying to focus on, addiction recovery, and not so much fibromyalgia.
No. This will do it.
Okay.
Two packets, I guarantee. 2 packets of Emergency a day will stop anyone's addiction.
Really?
You immediately feel the absorption into your mucous membranes in your mouth, and you feel a absolute shot into your brain because a direct conduit to your brain is the roof of your mouth.
Yes.
Your brain is right there.
Right.
You will never feel better in your entire life. I guarantee.
All right. Well, we will definitely take 2 packets of Emergency. And that comes straight from the source, Andrea in Jersey. All right. And, let's see. Do me a favor. I love these guys. I love these callers. So John, Mike, I see Joaquin. I know you're still there, Pally. But John and Mike, I know you want to, so let me we're going to take a break at the bottom of the hour coming up in just a couple seconds. We come back. We're going to keep talking about this. I'm going to finish, also regaling you with this thing about this person who's close to me, and I'll sort of close the loop on what I was telling you about sort of the earliest moments of when I started, and I'll give you a story that I tried to get to last week and I didn't, but I want to tell you about one of the gifts of sobriety that I was able to enjoy. And all this talk about the Valley and everything in Los Angeles, where I started my drinking and got sober, it's all sort of brought all this to the fore. And so I think it's the perfect Saturday morning to cover all this. 1-800-848-9222. Thanks again to Andrea for calling in. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. We shall return.
Shopping is hard, right? But I found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And he sends just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what works and send back the rest. It's so easy. Make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
It's Another Side of Midnight. 77 WABC.
4:33 in the morning. It's 4:33 on Saturday morning, the 19th of July, here on 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222. It's Another Side of Midnight. It's our recovery hour. We're talking about a lot of just about anything you want, but for sure, any sort of concerns you may have, questions you may have, comments about sobriety or a lack thereof in your life, or somebody you're concerned about, somebody you love who you think might be in a bad way, or any experience, strength, and hope that you have. If you're one of the joyful, happy, joyous, and free of us on this planet who are in recovery and are currently recovering. It's always an ongoing. It's a recovering. It's a process that never, ever ends. 1-800-848-9222. And John on Long Island on line 5. Good morning. You're on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick.
Yes, good morning. I often find myself on the wrong side of a public debate on genetic predisposition or the possibility of to addiction. I don't agree with it. I believe in some ways it might even take individual accountability away from a person. I don't know if I'm on the wrong track or what. Everybody of course knows somebody who is addicted to something or has been addicted to something, and I applaud you for your successes in life. And we got to wake up tomorrow for tomorrow to be a better day. So we always have to make sure we try to have a positive attitude on tomorrow may be better than today was.
Sure.
But a lot of my friends feel like there is such a thing as a genetic predisposition to it. It
runs in the family, right? It runs in the family, right?
I think it's learned behavior. From when we're very small, we're taught everything in life, and daddy or mommy might have something in their hand. My parents were both smokers, chain smokers, and I never picked it up. I hated it, and I can't wrap my head around the fact that somebody may have a genetic predisposition to being addicted to something. And I would just like to know your thoughts on that.
Well, whether or not it's a predisposition or it happens organically, I think that maybe those are both in the same ballpark that you're discussing, as opposed to a learned behavior. Yavish? I would say that I don't think it's necessarily a learned behavior, because whether or not, and yes, you do hear people say, oh, well, so-and-so runs in a family. Oh, well, his mother was a drinker, like that. And so, there's always that little bit of a, out the side of the mouth about, the family. And yet now my father is the adult child of an alcoholic. My father is 80 years old, still around. He is pretty much a teetotaler, wine at dinner every fifth dinner. And that's about it. My mom maybe drinks red Zinfandel with some Sprite in it. So my parents are not drinkers. And I can tell you, I was a regular, like I was just relating, I was a regular drinker. I would have beer at a barbecue, but like one or two, and I don't think I ever finished the beer. I didn't really love beer. It was just quenching and it went with the cheeseburger. I would maybe do a shot of tequila if I was in Mexico, doing something there. And I never really particularly was much of a drinker. I didn't really agree with me. But as I just told the story, John, it was about a disconnect and having had this gin and tonic that really agreed with me. What happened was it was a drink that I actually, that I did like aesthetically, enjoy. I liked the taste, and I was able to have enough of it that I started to get numb and disconnected from what was ailing me. And so there you go. So like now, I don't know, we're just talking about one person here, but it certainly is in my family. And I certainly didn't grow up in a family of drinkers necessarily. And the only time I finally started drinking was when it started working. Does all that make sense? And I'm not necessarily arguing, but I'm giving you my perspective as in terms of it not being solely a learned behavior. Does that make sense, John?
Fortunately, everybody unfortunately has people in their families that are struggling that they would love to be able to help, and until they realize on their own that it's unhelpable, I guess. I know some people in the medical field, and they talk about, when people start becoming addicted to drugs, it's because the initial hit of it doesn't affect them, and they need a little more, and then tomorrow they need a little more than that. And I get their point, but again, I also feel like you said, it was a symptom, and it was a way to disconnect from the things you were going through.
Yeah.
I think that's how it is. I believe that's how it is with.
And I was a smoker. And I was a smoker. To your point too, by the way, I was a smoker, and when I think back about what it took and I smoked for all the stupid I mean, there is no good, there is no not stupid reason to smoke. I started smoking because I am so, look, the more you say out loud the embarrassing thing, the more helpful it is, at least for me. I started smoking because I wanted to be cool. I hate admitting that. I'm 57 years old and I'm still embarrassed by what choices I made when I was 17 or 18. But I started smoking to be cool. And boy, you talk about an addiction. Now, I quit drinking 20 years ago. I quit smoking on my first sobriety anniversary. So I've been cigarette free for 19 years. But it was, you talk about, and that addiction took forever. I was sucking on nicotine lozenges for like 3 years. That is a beast, that nicotine boy. Woofa. But you know what? You did say something very interesting and very perceptive, by the way, at the very, very top of your call. And maybe I believe I'm interpreting it correctly, but and I'm going to totally paraphrase you because the top of your call was for a talk show light years ago. But when you first called in, you had said something along the lines of, it not be that saying that it's a genetic predisposition that's, and again, I'm totally paraphrasing you, so don't take it. But sure. You were saying something I believe along the lines of, that's almost like a kind of a built-in excuse. And I know I'm totally ruining your words. That's not exactly what you said. am I close?
Well, I was trying to be respectful to your struggles and everybody's struggles.
Yep.
Who is addicted or faces addiction or previously.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it.
Go ahead.
The argument of the predisposition, I believe, kind of absolves people of their individual accountability for that addiction, and maybe makes them. Might make them feel like it's someone else's fault or it's God's fault.
You
or
know
something
what?
Like that.
You're not. I tell you what, man. An alcoholic, an addict. I'm gonna actually tell you that you're not so crazy far off. I don't think that's all. I don't think that's necessarily ultimately going to be a hindrance to getting sober, because ultimately an addiction, if somebody wants to get, they're not going to care why or how they became addicted. Ultimately, if they acknowledge that they are powerless and their life is unmanageable and they are at rock bottom and they need help and they want to get help, then they're going to get help. And eventually they'll tackle the whys and wherefores down the road. But I will say this. We absolutely, that's why I was saying it was very perceptive on your part. Alcoholics and addicts will look for every single GD reason to not get sober. We are the connivers. We are the deal makers. We are, if alcoholics were characters in like 1950s war movies, 1940s war movies, we're that guy running around going, hey, Sarge, hey, listen, you know what? I don't feel so good. I don't think I can go to the front today, Sarge. That's us. That's every alcoholic. Every addict is an absolute wheeler, dealer, woman stealer. We lie, cheat, and steal left and right. It's how we do it. It's what we do. And absolutely that I can imagine there's dozens and dozens of, addicts within the sound of my voice who, are like, well, look, my grandfather had it. My father had it. So I was doomed, give me another one. Yeah. Absolutely. We're shopping around, for that sort of, excuse. And, well done, John. Thank you for calling in. I'm going to jump over to a couple other people. I'm really grateful. Let me very quick. Oh, you know what? Okay, we're going to do it this way. Let's get this break in now, and then we'll close out the show, and we'll get y'all to the 5 a.m. newscast with Liz Radabali. So here we go, gang. And just so you know, tomorrow, second hour, we are talking. We're talking. We're going to bring back a little feeling from this morning. Tomorrow morning, we are talking Vatican and UFOs. We are talking aliens and the Vatican. Ooh, you're welcome. I'm saying it now. You're welcome in advance for bringing you Danny Sheehan tomorrow in the 3 a.m. hour, second hour. All right, gang. We'll be right back. It's 4:45 on our way to 5 a.m. and Liz Radabali here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. Don't drink.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC.
1-800-848-9222. Good morning, everyone. I'm TJ. We're talking on Another Side of Midnight here on 77 WABC about getting well, or people we know who need to get well, or you, if you need to get well, in terms of addiction. So yeah, hopefully you're all right. And, have a little quick conversation. Tom in the Bronx on line 3. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Good morning. You're my, new favorite talk show. I want to see you every evening from 1 to 5.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
I had a good friend who's gone now, and grew up with alcoholic parents, never wanted to touch a drop. And he told me how he first drank. A coworker took him to lunch and said, "Come on, have a beer." And the first time it touched his lips, he said, "Oh, my God, I can't believe what I've been missing all these years."
Oh,
and that was it.
Wow.
And if that doesn't look like a genetic predisposition, I don't know what does. And he pushed himself to drink to get to the point where he was nauseous, he'd throw up, and he overcame it. And then he became a drinker for about 25 years and was a functioning alcoholic, if there's such a thing, which he would go back. He was a banker, worked in a bank, and so, you know, listen, I have somewhat of an addictive personality. If I have one cigarette, I will go right back to a pack a day within a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's a progressive disease, Tom. Tom, addiction is a progressive disease. You don't just pick up and start all over again. If I was to pick up a gin and tonic this morning, I wouldn't go back to the first drink on Ventura Boulevard that day at brunch with my wife. I'd go back to where I was when I quit drinking, and I would be worse within a week. I mean, honestly, I would be out there. I know, Tom. I'd be out there driving drunk, shouting, cheating on my wife. I would be out there. I mean, you know what I mean? I never did cheat on my wife. I tried to cheat on my wife. I was a very uncharming alcoholic. I never did close the deal. But boy, I tried, and I admit this openly. But I'd be out there cheating on my wife and drinking and driving, and I'd just be a piece of garbage out there.
It's horrible.
Within days.
What's the worst addiction? Gambling.
Brother.
Gambling. I observe so many gamblers at the casino, I see people that sold their house, is living off the money from the sale, and to save on the rent, sleeps in their car every night.
Tom,
and this gentleman,
that's a heartbreaker. And I tell you what, and
he's happy. He's happy. I looked at him. He laughed. I said, "What are you doing with your life?" I want to shake the crap out of him.
I know. It's those people that we love them to death, you know. But I tell you what, too, man. You know what? I don't like how the government is making it way too easy for gamblers to just throw their lives away. Here in New York State, we've got a guy, Pete Harcum. He's a New York State senator. And when he was chairman of the Drug and Alcohol Committee, he voted, not only did he vote for legal recreational marijuana, he also voted, and this is the real kicker, he voted to legalize mobile gambling on smartphones, and you're able to vote on everything. You're able to vote on it, bet on anything you want from a phone.
I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
You know why?
Tax money.
Politicians are addicted to money.
Yeah, they're addicted to other people's money, and they get it through taxes, and it's sick. And now we're about to open. Now we're about to open a casino in the middle of Times Square, and you know who's going to be in there?
Sure. We're going to hell in a
There's going to be 6,000 people in there who have no business gambling. We all know who's going to be in that casino, just like the people who are in Empire City in Yonkers. That place is going to be full.
That's the one I go to.
Right? Look at you, Tom. Shame on you. No, listen, I love you, buddy. Thank you for calling. I'm kidding. You go there for the girls?
The camaraderie, and the high roller friends who are always treating me to dinner.
Ah, that's nice. Free steak. All right, Tommy. Thank you for calling, pal. And let's wrap this up with Mike in South Carolina. Mike, always good to talk to you, my friend.
You know what, TJ? Always good listening to you, and I'm glad I finally got in. We spoke about this, and a drug addict's going to pass out. A drinker will pass out. Compulsive gambler will never pass out. And I saw it up close and personal in Atlantic City. So a buddy of mine retired. He put in 41 years at Caesars. And I saw the old owner of the Eagles, Toes. He played at a roped-off table, blackjack, every spot, 10, 20,000. He lost everything. And then, I love some of these people. They said, oh, no, I'm going to sue the casino. They plied me with alcohol. Hey, man, that's your choice. Okay, it's tough enough to gamble, but that's your choice. And the judge just dismissed it and threw it out. But, all right, TJ, you touch on all the points. That's why I tune in, and I'll be tuned in tomorrow.
You're very kind. Thank you. I'm grateful. And he's been hanging in forever and ever and ever. And I am curious because we did have a great long conversation with Father McTeigue. So Joaquin is in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm just curious about what you have to say about the Pope's economic agenda. What are you thinking there, Joaquin?
Okay, yeah, now you had my mind on addiction. But you know something? I really, I've noticed that at least the previous Pope, and I'm pretty sure this one, they all seem to fall in line with the World Economic Forum and the globalist agenda. And especially also, too, how they get into the whole climate change thing and the open borders, and the unlimited migration. And, so unfortunately, I see the whole World Economic Forum and the globalist agenda basically as the one world order, which, of course, is prophesied in the Bible. And so I just find it interesting that these guys fall in line with that.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I was having an issue with also was when they talked about, the unfortunate bombing of the Catholic Church in Gaza.
Right.
And then, someone wants to give credence to the fact, that an Israeli soldier would have targeted the cross. That just makes no sense because everybody's going out of their way to vilify the Israelis. And if anybody really knows anything about, Islam, especially in Gaza, I mean, their charter state that they want river to the sea, and they want to have complete dominion over everything.
Yeah.
And you can so live with them.
You said I had you thinking about addiction. What were you thinking when I came to you on the phone here?
Well, okay. I mean, look, the one guy who called in, John, it's hard to really take any advice from someone who's never even been there before. When I went to rehab, at least all the people that were there, they all originally went through the program themselves. Okay. So you're dealing with someone who knows, what it's like to be there.
Yeah.
And so
I thought John was respectful. Look, I mean, if you have if you have a question and you have an opinion, no, I don't think it precludes him or, I thought John was respectful and when it was gentle, I think is a way to put it.
But I think that there is some genetic issues behind it because, I mean, as I look at myself and I look at my family, I mean, most of my brothers, they to one point or another had drinking issues.
Joaquin, without a doubt, it runs in the family. It just is because it's a disease. Look, I come from the camp that it's a disease. It's a disease. You know what I mean? Like any other disease, it runs in the family. So I think you and I are definitely on the same page there.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I was a functioning alcoholic. I'm going to be 66 in August, and the first time around, actually, I was liquid a-hole, but then I quit drinking for about a year, and then I went back to it, and I had a totally different attitude about it. And I never drank and drove, but unfortunately, finally, what got me was pain. But I used to be able to on the weekends. I mean, alcohol gave me energy. I would go outside, and I would, cut wood, and I'd work on cars and do all kinds of stuff, and,
oh my God,
have a couple drinks throughout the day,
Your alcoholic would have kicked my alcoholic's ass. I went and put on my fancy clothes and went to the Polo Lounge. You went out and cut wood. Hey, Joaquin, I got to jump. It's the end of the show.
All right, TJ.
All right, buddy. Have a great Saturday morning. All right, my friends, that does it. It's time for Liz Radabali and the 5 a.m. newscast. Thank you so much for making this show better. Each and every one of you. This was phenomenal from beginning to end. And tomorrow morning, we're going to do the same thing on a Sunday. In the second hour, do not miss it. We're going to be talking to one of the foremost sources, I'm not going to say experts, sources on the most fascinating subject of what does the Vatican know about alien life forms here, there, all around, and UFOs. What do they know? When did they find out about it? And oh my gosh, what does that imply? What are the implications for faith around the world? All right, it's another side of midnight with TJ McCormick here on 77 WABC. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Until then, I wish you all the luck in the world.